here in Paris and all around the world. Well, it's time now to take a closer look at what's been going on across Africa over the past 24 hours. Georgia Calvin-Smith is here with that now. Georgia, over to you.
Thanks very much, Laura. This is Africa News. And Kenya further ups its challenge to the International Criminal Court's charges. President Kenyatta's lawyers call for his trial to be scrapped. Also, there are warnings that Madagascar's overcrowded jails are the perfect breeding ground for bubonic plague. And in the final in our series on African immigrants hoping to live in France, we meet some who've managed to legally stay and others who've decided it's time to pack it in and go home. First up, Central African Republic's UN ambassador has hailed a new Security Council resolution on his country as the beginning of a different future. The nation descended into violence after Slaker rebels ousted the former president in March. Though officially disbanded, militia have been accused of committing atrocities against civilians. France warns the crisis is largely ignored and raised the alarm at the UN last month. While today's vote offers support to African peacekeepers in the country and calls for democratic elections within a year and a half. Earlier on, France's UN ambassador told me that the UN resolution is an important first step.
The Africans have decided to send a force in the Central African Republic, but to restore law and order, at least in Bangui and its neighborhood, but they need support. So what we have, through this resolution, what we have done is, first is to say that we are supporting the Africans in their endeavor, and secondly, we are asking the Secretary General of the UN to say which form of support the UN is able to provide to this African force. So in 3-4 weeks, we'll have a report from the Secretary General and we'll decide what are we going to do. There are basically two ways for helping the Africans, either through a trust fund, and money coming from different countries, or creating a peacekeeping operation. But that we will have to decide it through a dialogue with the African Union, since it's the Africans who have decided to send a force.
So the details of the kind of support the UN can provide won't be settled before the next resolution, which is scheduled for earliest mid-November. Is that fast enough?
Well, again, the problem is, in a sense, that, as I have said, Central Africa or Central African Republic, is on the front page of no newspaper in the world, but maybe but in France and in Africa. So, we have a lot of work, I said, of mobilizing the international community. The second point is that the Africans are acting, and the first elements of the African contingents are arriving in Bangui. And it's very important that we work with the Africans. The African Union believes, and we support it, that it's to the Africans to solve the African problems, and and we are acting in this framework. We want to provide support to the Africans. We are not on the front line. It's to the Africans to tell us what do they need, and we are going to work with them in the coming weeks.
A quick look at some other world news. Kenya's president has officially asked for the International Criminal Court to drop its crimes against humanity trial against him. Uhuru Kenyatta is due to go before the court next month, accused of encouraging post-electoral violence in 2007. He denies the charge, and today his lawyers claimed that a fair trial is impossible because defense witnesses have been intimidated. The request to dismiss isn't unexpected. Last month, Kenyan Parliament filed a motion to quit the ICC. Liberia's former president, sentenced to a 50-year prison term for war crimes, will serve out his sentence in a UK prison. Charles Taylor is likely to spend the rest of his life in jail after a UN-backed special court in The Hague upheld his sentence last month for arming rebels during Sierra Leone's civil war in the 1990s. Taylor's lawyers had wanted him to serve out the term in Rwanda. Britain's refused to say which institution will house the former strongman. And Libya's Prime Minister says that his kidnapping early Thursday should not spark an escalation of unrest. Ali Zidane was held for several hours after being taken from his hotel in Tripoli by gunmen. Witnesses claimed that he had been held at a police station south of the capital and was let go only after armed locals surrounded the building, demanding he be released. 2 years after the revolution, that the country's new leaders have struggled to rein in militia and former rebels. Now, thousands of Ivorian farmers who fled the country during the 2011 civil war are returning to find that their land has been illegally sold. Humanitarian workers warn the land disputes risk derailing the reconciliation process. Nicolas Germain tells us more.
During the post-election crisis, some 200,000 Ivorians fled to neighbouring Liberia. Most were from the Gere ethnic group considered loyal to Laurent Gbagbo. They said they left because they were afraid of the armed men who supported his rival Alassane Ouattara. The NGO Human Rights Watch said that when the Gere returned home, they were in for a shock.
We visited 49 villages in the west of the country, and we found that many people said that they had their land taken away from them. Now they've come back only to find their lands now occupied by migrants from Burkina Faso.
The NGO said it was often Geres who sold illegally the land to the citizens of Burkina Faso. Geres who were sometimes from the same families as those who had fled. Human Rights Watch also found cases of people from Burkina Faso who took back land that had been stolen by Geres during the 2002-2003 conflict. It already pitted pro-Gbagbo supporters and northern rebels. Local NGOs say the priority is demarcating the land.
There are many intercommunal conflicts due to the issue of demarcation. We need to give the opportunity to those who own land according to customary law to be able to benefit and acquire a title deed in this rural context.
The Ivorian government told Human Rights Watch it would set aside funds to demarcate boundaries in 1,300 villages across the country.
2 men from Madagascar have been charged over the burning to death of 2 Europeans on a beach of a tourist island last week. The Frenchman and Franco-Italian victims were lynched on the island of Nosy Be after locals accused them of killing a young boy. Police are still searching for the murderers of the boy's uncle, who was also killed by mobs. Staying in Madagascar, clean up rat-infested jails, say health experts, warning the country that it's at risk of a major outbreak of bubonic plague. Known as the Black Death, the disease wiped out up to half of Europe in the Middle Ages. Nowadays, it can be treated, but Madagascar is one of the countries worst affected by the illness.
In Madagascar's prisons, cells are overcrowded and detainees have to live with some unpleasant neighbours.
There are too many rats here. When we eat, they are here, in our cells. At night time, we can't sleep because they make too much noise. They're looking for food.
The worst problem is that the rats can transmit the plague to humans through infected fleas. The highly contagious disease took the lives of nearly half the population in Europe during the Middle Ages and is today still a serious public health problem in Madagascar. The arrival every year of hot and humid weather in October marks the start of the plague season. The Red Cross and the government are involving detainees in programs to improve access to water and waste management.
The aim is to continue this program, and in the long run, the prison authorities can do it without the help of the Red Cross.
Madagascar had 256 plague cases and 60 deaths last year. That's the world's highest recorded number.
Malawi's president sacked her cabinet on Thursday amidst mounting reports of corruption in her government. Joyce Banda has said that she will announce a new one in due course. She had expressed concern that the shooting of the budget director 3 weeks ago was because of his efforts to curb graft. To the final instalment now of our series looking at illegal immigration here in France. We meet some of the people tonight who have eventually managed to get legal papers to stay, and also hear from some who in the end decided it's not worth it.
La France est désormais votre patrie. Vous pouvez être fiers d'être français. La France est fière de vous accueillir.
A room of people from around the world who are now all French. A short ceremony to mark the occasion and give them the papers of their new nationality.
Madame Dial du Mali.
Miriam, a cashier with the Bank of Africa, never had to struggle. With her job, she was legally able to live and work in France, but she says getting the nationality still makes all the difference.
It's going to change a lot in my life. With the French nationality, I can now feel at home. I have rights. We have rights. We are free here. There's nothing to worry about. We're all equal.
Feeling equal and free, these 60 new French citizens sing the Marseillaise. For Clotaire, it's a very different end to his immigration that is playing out. After fleeing war in Ivory Coast, he spent 10 years working as a mechanic in Italy, a job he loved but for which he wasn't paid.
I'm really disappointed. I did everything. I worked so hard and then they stopped paying me. I got a lawyer. She promised me that she would be able to get the 10,000 euros I was owed. She got me to sign an agreement, but as soon as I signed, I think she must have made a deal with my boss. He maybe paid her off for 4,000 or 6,000 euros, and then she started running me around, and finally told me it was too late to press charges.
Clotaire left Italy for France just 3 weeks ago. He sleeps in the basement of a shelter and says he doesn't even want to start the process of settling here. He just wants to go home.
That wraps up African News for me, but I will be back with more in an hour, Laura.
Georgia, we look forward to it. Thank you very much indeed. And that's it for this part of Live from Paris. Do stay with us. Mark Cohen with you in just a few moments. All the latest international headlines still to come. Stay with us. This is France 24.